God is calling you as he called Gideon. Confront that fear head on and break it. Whether a sin, habit, way, or fear, he's calling you head on. God called for victory, but Gideon had to do this. The problem began with the gods, and the answer had to begin with the gods. Before there's any battle, he's got to deal with that altar. The altar was draining the blessings of Israel. It's draining the sacrifices, draining its focus, draining its devotion. So that's what that sin does. It drains our devotion, drains our energy for God, drains all those things. The altar was keeping them in bondage and oppression and fear. Gideon had to go, had to break it down, had to smash the altar. You have to do the same thing. The thing that is not God, that sin, that habit, that way, that attitude, that pattern, that substitute, that relationship, that compromise, that's draining you, robbing you, keeping you, it's got to come down. You want to live a life of victory, it's got to come down. You got to break it. You got to smash it. You can't coexist with it. You can't coexist, not with the altar of Baal. You have to make a decision. You got to draw a line in the sand and say, no more. You have to hate it. Yeah, we love people, but we hate sin. Smash it. Rid it from your life. If you have a struggle, you mess up, you come out, doesn't matter. Get up again and smash that thing again. God says, you reverence the gods, Israel. The word, again, is fear. So the altar of Baal can also manifest in your life not only as sin, but as a fear. A fear that's keeping you living from what God called you to live. A fear that's crippling you. A fear that's causing you to accept what you shouldn't accept, to give in to the darkness, to prevent you from living a life, from living in bondage because you're afraid. And you end up avoiding that thing because what God called you because of that fear you have. God is calling you as he called Gideon. Confront that fear head on and break it. Whether a sin, habit, way, or fear, he's calling you head on. When God calls his chosen people, I'm talking about everybody he calls in the Bible, there's a pattern. Often the first reaction is fear. He called Moses, fear. Jeremiah, fear. I'm too young. Gideon, fear. God calls you, and there's often a fear because he's calling you to rise higher. If you're going to get there, you got to rise higher. But to do it, you got to meet that fear head on. That obstacle head on. That thing head on. Not run from it, run to it. He called Gideon to do a very specific action. He calls you to do a very specific action to overcome that thing. Take a specific act against that fear, against that sin, against that giant. The oppression of the Midianites was all over. It was general. But the answer that would save them was very specific. So you might feel oppressed. You might feel, I'm just not victorious. I'm in battle. It's very general. But you got to take a specific act, a specific step in your life. Yes. See, general things never happen. I'll do something sometime. I'll get it together with God. I'll fulfill my calling, in the future. It never happens. The victory is specific. You want victory? Take an action, specific action. Start today, specific time. Don't say tomorrow. Even if it's symbolic, take an action. A Gideon action. Smash the altar of your Baal. It may involve you actually smashing something. Now, that may have happened to the Lord. Be careful, I'm not telling you to go out and, riot. It may be something symbolic that you do something meant something, and that's a sign of it. Do it before you go to bed. Start. Gideon, the act was the first step. Great victories begin with one step. Even if it's a small step, take it. You see, great big things never happen just like that. In other words, what I mean is, it's better to take a small step for God today, now, than have a great thing you're going to do that you never do. We saw on Friday that God called Gideon. He gave a Hebrew word. He said, oh, Gibor, great man, which means valiant, great one, champion. It means, oh, hell, oh, Gibor, great one. God called you to be that one. But to be that one, he had to deal with the altar. God has called you to be a champion. But to be a champion, you got to deal with the altar first. Decisive action. You see, he could not defeat the armies of Midian until he defeated Baal in his own life. Baal in his own house. That was his father's altar. He was raised under that altar. You want victory in the world, in your situation? First get victory in the spiritual realm. First get victory. You want victory on the outside? Get victory on the inside. You'll have victory on the outside. God told him, take the wood of the Asherah pole, this goddess wood, use it for the wood of the sacrifice. God will actually use your breaking down that altar, and he'll turn it to actually cause you to be blessed. Years ago, as a new believer, I was in a friendship with a young woman I had helped lead to the Lord on my job where I was. And there were feelings developing, and it wasn't an unbiblical situation, but it wasn't the Lord's will. And I had to give it up. I had to break the altar. And when I did it, right then it was like revival came to me. Revival came. You repented. Do what you have to do. Revival will come to you. Refreshing, renewing will come. Open the door for it. God told Gideon, break that thing down. The act was the undoing of what the Israelites had done. They were reverencing the gods. They were fearing the gods. Gideon had a lot of fears, but he overcame them. That's the difference. It's not that you don't have fears. It's that what do you do about them? Overcome them. The very act of breaking it down was Gideon was saying, I am not fearing Baal. And I am not reverencing Baal. God wants you to have that same spirit. Do not reverence the gods. Do not reverence the principalities. Do not reverence the bondages that the devil wants on your life. Do not reverence them. Do not bow down to them. Do not reverence the power of sin. Do not reverence depression or fear depression or rejection or calamity or evil or what's going to happen in the future or man, it doesn't matter, or this culture, it doesn't matter. Do not fear them. Do not fear the giants in your life. Face them and slay them. Hi, I'm Jonathan Cahn, and I hope you were blessed with the video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. Feel free to share your reactions with your comments and how you were blessed, and share this video with your friends. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.